So today we're going to take a look at sentence combining, both on the SAT and the ACT. So one of the more seemingly daunting questions you're going to come across is when they give us two sentences and they're going to ask you, what's the most effective way to combine them? And they look they're these long, chunky, clunky, time-consuming sort of questions. And so you're like, oh, I don't have time for this. And oftentimes they seem like they're going to take more time than they're worth, seemingly, but they're really not all that tough. It's all about just sort of breaking the code on these. Just take a look at an example on your guided note sheet. So the fall of the NFL's popularity may be linked to the players choosing not to stand for the national anthem. Their decision not to stand has been criticized and praised by fans. And then we have this other two different ways of joining these two together. We have this A choice and this B choice. Well, I want you to notice in this A choice, one of the red flags I want to notice in this one is I want you to notice how they simply change the punctuation. I'll see if I can get my highlighter to show up here. So I want you to see here where they've basically used a semicolon, but they've not changed anything. And therefore, that can't possibly be the most effective way of joining those sentences together by simply changing this period into a semicolon. There's got to be something better. The next one looks like we've taken this period out and we've taken out the word there and changed it to the word a. So a decision that has been both criticized and praised by fans. That's a little better. I like that. But I want you to notice something. They've also repeated the word decision. Like you've said the word decision here, and then you've repeated the word decision here. And so it's in a positive, which can be effective, but it sometimes can be redundant to say the word decision twice. So I'm going to look for an answer which doesn't repeat words. Third one looks like, once again, we've taken out that period, made a comma, and here's this word which. And therefore, I've gotten rid of their decision not to stand, which says, which has been both criticized and praised by fans. Well, that's nice, but it's still a little bit of a red flag. One thing is we're going to try to avoid this word which. Word which can be tricky on the SAT, and it's hard to, because when it says which has been both criticized and praised by fans, we probably mean their act of choosing not to stand has been criticized and praised by fans. But the way it's written right now, I can't tell if it's also the national anthem, which has been criticized and praised by fans. So because you can't tell what the word which is referring to, I might sort of avoid this choice as well. D, the fall of the NFL's popularity may be linked to the players' decision, both criticized and praised by fans, not to stand for the national anthem. Well, this is a winner. Look at the confetti. It's tighter, it's shorter, it's more concise, and it avoids redundancy or vague pronouns. It doesn't repeat anything, and it also is very clear on what's being criticized and praised because it's right off that word decision. For that reason, this is a great choice. So let's talk about some of the tricks they're going to throw at us. All right, so we're going to read through some of these answers and see if we can figure out why the other is not the better choice. So see if we can identify, in a sense, its red flags. So most college students have on almost religious dependence upon their daily planners. These daily planners serve as paper administrative assistants. Well, the first thing I'm going to notice is I'm repeating these words. So when I'm trying to combine sentences, I can see daily planners here and daily planners here. So I'm going to try to combine it so I'm not repeating words. Well, look at this A choice. This is nice. You've gotten rid of these daily planners with the word they, but you still have a period here. And that's going to be the red flag. I want you to recognize that A is definitely shorter than B, but you didn't combine the sentence. And the question is going to be, which is the best way of combining these sentences? So that becomes a red flag. They do that a lot, where they'll give you a shorter answer, but it's not really combined. Here's another one. Praise bands and non-denominational affiliations seem to be, quote, par for the course when it comes to meeting the demands of a younger generation of churchgoers. A new, younger generation of churchgoers is searching for less structure and more entertainment Sunday mornings. Hopefully you're going to get used to this. You're going to hear that I just repeated the same phrase, a new generation of churchgoers, right after I said a younger generation of churchgoers. Why repeat that? So if I look at the A choice, really, really long, which kind of makes me feel like I don't know if I like this one or not. You'll notice that the first sentence typically doesn't change a whole lot. And so here is a younger generation of churchgoers, and then I repeat it, a new generation. And why would I say the word generation if I already said the word generation? And therefore, it's redundant. And therefore, that becomes another red flag. If you're repeating something Why? And therefore, we're going to look for an answer which doesn't repeat. Third one, platforms like Etsy have provided artists of a variety of mediums a way to showcase and peddle their goods. Moreover, consumers now have trusted virtual markets in which to shop. All right, let's find a best way of joining them. Well, the A choice seems a little bit more concise. Platforms like Etsy have provided trusted virtual markets for both artists to showcase and peddle their goods and consumers to shop. Let's look at B. Platforms like Etsy have provided artists of a variety of mediums a way to showcase and peddle their goods. Semicolon. Wait a minute. You didn't change anything. We just went from this period up here to a semicolon. Once again, that's going to be our red flag. You've just simply changed the punctuation, but you've not really combined them at all. And therefore, that's a red flag, something they very commonly give you on the SAT. That's not going to be the answer. Lastly, the success of All in the Family, which is a TV show from the 70s, was largely attributed to its larger-than-life main character, Archie Bunker. The, quote, Archie Bunker character shed an uncomfortable light on the bigotry and myopic, which means very short-sighted, mindset of a past generation of viewers. All right, when I'm looking at these, I can definitely see the A choice is longer, which typically means it's probably not the right answer, but not always. So I'm looking at it, and here after the word Archie Bunker, it changed the Archie Bunker character to who was the character. Down here, it's basically the same until it says whose character. So look how many words it takes to get from the word bunker all the way to the word shed. Who was a character that? And eventually get to the word shed. Here, I go from bunker to shed with whose character. Much more concise. And therefore, that's why the A choice is going to be our red flag. They're both using a relative or an adjective clause, but this one just takes much longer to get there. And the B choice is much more concise. And therefore, it's a better choice. I guess this is the last one. I kind of lost track. I apologize. It is easy to assume any product marketed as organic is healthy. It is equally easy, yet erroneous, to assume that its alternative product is inorganic and unhealthy. Well, I can definitely hear some repetition. I could say it is easy to assume, and then later I say it is equally easy to assume. So here what I've done is I'm looking at the way they're actually using this word because. I want you to see that we're going to use the word because to join these two sentences together. And therefore, what's the most logical way? The A choice says, because it's easy to assume any product marketed as organic is healthy, because it's easy to assume that, then it's easy or equally easy to assume, and yet it's erroneous to assume that its alternative is inorganic. This is getting confusing. Where the B choice says, it's easy to assume that the products are organic because we can assume that the alternatives are inorganic. So think about the logic here. Which one makes more logical sense? Well, I want you to hear that this B choice does not really make a lot of logical sense. To say that we can assume that products are organic or healthy because we can assume the inorganic products are unhealthy. And that doesn't always make sense. What we want to say is the A choice. Because we can assume that the products that are organic are healthy, because we can assume that, we can probably assume that the inorganic ones are unhealthy. I'm confusing myself just simply saying this, and I wish I wasn't in a live video that I was recording this in. Once again, if the first one says we can assume organic things are healthy because the inorganic ones are unhealthy, and it's actually the opposite. We can assume the inorganic ones are unhealthy because we assume the organic ones are healthy. Man, that's just bad teaching on my part. You just trust me on this one. All right. So hopefully you hear the logic of it. No, trust me on it. Make sure you understand it. That's the worst thing to say. Trust me on this. I'm an awful teacher. All right. With that being said, what I'd like for you to do is I'd like for you to try looking at your next worksheet and seeing if you can find the best way of combining those sentences. And then we'll come back and take a look at the answers together. All right, so I'm just going to pause my video and then we'll start up another one. No, don't keep those.